Oh, I'm out of food. Oh, you're here. I'm going to do a simple project this time, and that is making a dog food bowl holder. It's not history or reenacting related, but it's pallet wood related. I bet you couldn't see that one coming. I'm doing this project by request of my dog. Oh, not my dog. My wife actually asked me to do this for my dog. I gotta keep my facts straight here.
And just so you know what I'm working with, here's the current setup.
As usual, I rated things that were my wife's. I found a container that was the exact same size as the one that she uses for the dog food. She'll eventually figure out because she's gonna see this video. But in the meantime, I'm safe. I need to have this tall enough that I can recess these dishes in like this and fit 2 of them. And then I need this to be able to slide underneath for the one that has dog food so it can fit in. I'm sort of making a bench, but for dog food and water. And on that note, let's get going. I need to subtract this lip, which is about a 1/2 inch. Though, I do need to know that it's 9.5. If wood was an issue, I would leave these, but I'm gonna have holes in the center already to deal with. So I'm gonna start off by cutting these off. A little bit of wasteful use of wood, but I'm gonna go with that. Well, that's just great. Somebody, not mentioning names, forgot to turn on the camera when explaining something. So I cut the top down to 23 inches because 2 bowls plus 2 bowls plus 2 overhang equals 23 inches. That's why I cut it this length. So I cut 2. Oh, oops, that one's the wrong length. I need to cut this one as well because 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. Oh, we're not trying to do a math lesson here? Someone should have told me that earlier in the video. Nobody tells me anything. I need to clean up these edges. Edges actually. You kind of get the idea that, well, I kind of give myself a workout. Yes, this is not a workout channel or exercise channel, but I sure do a whole lot of it here with this resistance training tool. So I'll have to continue this with all the boards, using the hand planer to clean up these edges, and then fine tuning it and making sure that I have good 90-degree surfaces. So hopefully the glue up will work better that way. I just love these shavings. I don't know what it is, but just all the curly wood is really kind of cool, and then just seeing it peel off the surface. That's one of the coolest parts of using a hand planer, even though it's quite a workout. Now I'd say when working with this, I could definitely notice the difference between working on this, which is pine, versus the walnut and oak that I did on that cutting board project in one of my previous videos. So check out that video. So being that we already did enough math earlier in the video, I decided I was gonna find a template for the smaller circle because I can't use the bottom of the pan because the bottom of the pan is way too small than up here, but I can't just use this border because it's too large. So what I did is I swiped somebody's frying pan. So I'm just eyeballing it, spacing it out evenly, because that's what fine carpenters do always. They don't measure, they just eyeball and avoid math when possible to get a good result. Now that this is spaced pretty close to perfection, I'm gonna just trace it. Now to get one of my possibly favorite workshop tools ready for use.
If I glued up the top, it'd be really hard to use the bandsaw, so by cutting it out before gluing the top together, it makes things a lot easier.
It's time for the glue up. Now this section is trying to lift up some, so let's just pin it down to the clamp. While I'm at it, I might as well do it over here as well, just to be sure. And now this is all glued and clamped up, I just gotta let it set and dry. Wait a second, I don't have to sit and wait for this, I can keep going on this project. I'm gonna cut the skirting for this dog table. After all, this is going in the dining room. This bowl is like 2 3/4. I'm gonna do the skirting at 2.5 inches. So I just need to cut this skirt at 2.5 inches. So I'm putting the space between the blade and my rip fence guide or clamp guide, circular saw clamp guide at 2.5 inches. The glue has had time to dry, and what I mean by time is had months to dry as I've been working on a huge project. So let's take all the clamps off and free this all up for the next stage of the process. There we go. It's interesting, the wood must have shrunk a decent amount too, because these clamps were not nearly as tight as they were when I put them on. I think I was gonna use this for the leg, one of the legs. I am oddly enough, short on pallet slats now, because I use them very heavily in one of my home renovation projects. Whichever side's flatter will take less planing will be my top. So the first step, I'm gonna clamp this down to the workbench, just so hopefully it doesn't run away from me as I'm trying to use the hand planer. Do you always have this come loose on you when you're using your hand planer? I saw somebody do this on YouTube. I'm hoping it's a good idea, where they put oil in here to help expand the wood fibers so that the screw could actually get tight. I'm assuming a type of mineral oil would be the right type of oil. I feel like I'm missing a step. Am I missing a step? Like, am I supposed to soak this in mineral oil for a while? Or do I just put it directly back on the hand planer? I'm gonna put it right back on the hand planer and hope for the best. But let me know in the comments, hey, am I missing a step? Is this a good idea? Because I really would prefer this not to keep getting loose on me. I got this hand planed approximately how I want it. I'm thinking I might put a round over on it, because why not? Now I just hope I don't regret this, and I hope I don't have a lot of bad rip out on these corners. If I forget to tighten this wing nut here, everything comes crashing down. I just don't dare forget to tighten that down.
Here I'm going to use this little piece of scrap as a gauge so I can set the correct height so I can get the round over just where I want it. Now with the round overs over, pun intended, it's time to go over and sand the surface and just get this all prepped for assembly, stain, and poly later down the road. On to cutting the skirts / cross members that go on the front and back of this dog food holder. You guessed it, more sanding. As I stated earlier, I'm a little shorter on pallet slats now, so a little less material to work with. And as you can see, these last few pieces that I'm using for the legs are a little bit on the rough side. But as you can see here, the 3 pallet slats are wider than the top. So my thought here is maybe I just cut a little bit off of the edges of the worst boards and try to preserve the best wood to be used in the legs.
I'm gonna have to clean this one up. This board's like pretty much broken. I'm gonna have to break it the rest of the way and glue it up.
After hand planing all the joints, it's time to glue up all the leg joints together to make the flat panels or flat boards that will cut the legs out of. So now I just need to tighten down the clamps good and tight and let it set overnight and hope that I have good joints in the morning.
Okay, the glue's had a chance to dry for a few days. Once again, time to take the clamps off, but it looks like it turned out pretty well. I got a lot of hand planing ahead of me, I can see. One of my main goals with this hand planing is to smooth out the differences between these 3 boards. Fortunately, this side is pretty flat already. The other side's gonna be a little rougher and it's gonna need more to be removed. Now I'm trying to go perpendicular to the boards to see if this works better, because usually I have a hard time when I'm going this way to even out the differences between all 3 boards. At least this might be a good idea for the first pass. It's going cross grain. And that's some of the reason for these chips. Anyways, it seems to be doing what I want it to do, so I'm gonna keep going with the strategy. Okay, I got a lot of hand planing done. This side's nice and smooth. This is gonna be the side everyone's gonna see. This side, on the other hand, needs some sanding, some love. This is gonna be on the back side. I'm gonna try to hide the imperfections. Okay, here's the board I just did. This is gonna be the outside. This is gonna be the back side that's hidden. Now, if you notice, here's one leg that I have finished. There's space to cut out these nail holes to hide that imperfection, and enough space on either side to remove imperfections like that as well. Now, I don't know if you can see in the camera, I have this table at a slight angle. That way the legs will spread out a little bit, kind of like that. I just need to remove only a tiny bit, just enough to put that angle on the top of the board. In theory, you could also do this on the bottom of the leg, just so it fits flush. Probably want to do that if this was like a bench or something. Okay, so the next part of this leg is I need to make the piece that I'm setting right here. I'm gonna put a little bit of round over, as you can see on this one right here. This is finished already. That serves multiple purposes. One thing I did not calculate as much clearance as I wanted for the box that holds all the dog food. So this adds a little bit of clearance, but also adds a little bit more dimensional interest and personality. So that serves multiple things. And then on top of it, creates a good place to add screws and creates a good strong surface that I can glue and nail to the top. Before I cut this down to the right length, I'm gonna put a round over in a good portion of it. And like that, we have that piece of trim.
Now for a quick final sanding before we connect all the leg pieces together and start assembling this dog food dish holder.
This is the front, so I need to make sure my trim lines up right with that. I'm going to glue it and then screw it into place. Now I'm going to pre-drill this because I'm afraid of it splitting out the leg if I just shot the screw straight in. As I don't have a super fancy countersink, I'm just going to be using a larger drill bit. This will allow me to countersink for the screw. Now I'm going to countersink this screw too, because I need this to be flat against the bench top or the dog food holder top, just so that I can anchor the legs onto it nice and solid. Now those screws are flush. So I'm adding these skirts on first just to create some strength and structure, and then I'm going to anchor them to, I want to call this a bench top, tabletop. I'm still at loss for what I should exactly call it. I'm going to add glue to these points, as this will add more strength than just the finishing nails I'm using. I'm not going to a ton of work to hide the fasteners, just I don't want to spend that much time on this project. I've already probably gone into a little more effort to make this fancier than my wife was probably originally picturing. So I'm now going to add glue around the perimeter just to help hold everything together. Yes, I know I'm not building this like a proper table. This proper table is you calculate in for shrinking the material so nothing cracks and breaks.
Here is the stain I'll be using for the project. I use this on a lot of my projects and it seems to turn out really nicely. It's called Carrington. It also is a plus that this is my wife's favorite stain, so it's a good one for me to use.
Some of these boards are a little harder to stain due to, they're not super smooth. They're not like the roughness that you'd get slivers from, but they're the roughness that stain doesn't necessarily want to get in there where there's little pockets or pit marks. I think you can see it here on camera, the nail holes and other holes. The stain's not setting in, so I'm going to flip it upright so I can drip stain into these holes. I like working with pallet wood because there's something rewarding turning something that's been discarded into a piece of furniture or into something that you can use. But there are negative sides of using that type of wood. And being one of those is the difficulty of applying stain and your finish to the wood. Now we just need to let this all dry, and then I'll put polyurethane on the top just to protect it from the water, because dogs are not always the neatest when it comes to drinking water. So let's get on to polyurethaning it with my rag. Okay, I'm very happy with how this turned out. I'm now waiting for the polyurethane to dry. I have a few coats on it. So once it's all dry, I can then move it upstairs and put my dog's food dishes on it. Much of the same processes that we went through to build this can be used for making a bench, just no hole in the center.
And I couldn't just leave you hanging without seeing it finished and in its final location. And Dozer decided to come and check it out while I was trying to take a photo for the thumbnail.
Thanks for sticking around. Please make sure to leave any comments, questions, or anything down below in the comments. Well, almost anything. Also, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe, as a bunch of other videos and content will be coming out in the future. And I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos.